Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin, Linney here, and she's from London, Jersey, Florida. We don't even know where she's from, but buckle in for this amazing slang word. We might talk some country. We don't even know what's going to happen. But we have ST in the house. How are you?
Thank you so much, Austin, for having me. I am psyched. I'm really excited to be here talking with you.
So here's the thing, and this is blasphemy, so I hope nobody from Texas hears this, but because I just talked to a guy earlier today too. If there was any other state that I would ever been born in, because I'm through and through Texas to my core, it's Jersey. That's a place I can get behind. I feel like I would have been the mayor of a small town, old Cadillac driving around, I don't know. I love the people from Jersey. They're amazing.
I find it funny because my place I want to land up in is Texas.
What city?
I don't have a set city. I do want to own a nice big multiple 100-horse ranch type of thing.
Okay,
I don't know
so
if
that
I
would
will
be the
live
hill.
there
That
also.
would be the hill. That would be the hill country.
Okay. I
And
might live in the city and just go
okay.
there.
So listen, you can't tell anybody because nobody listens to this podcast. Okay, because if they take over my small town, I'm going to kill them. All right, but there's a town. The only thing I worry about is water, which I think will get fixed. But there's a town called Blanco, Texas. It's called Blanco, Texas. Okay?
Blanco with an O at the end.
Yeah, like Blanco, Texas. So it's hour from Austin, 40 minutes from San Antonio. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And my goal is all you have to do is go to town and then hang a left on the river and just drive the river until you find your piece of land, and you'll be happy as a clam because it's the Guadalupe River. But here's what they don't tell you is New Braunfels and Green, which is my favorite part of Texas, the fastest growing zip code in between San Antonio and Austin, is very crowded and very expensive. But you have the same river, but the cost is 1/10.
Oh my God. Okay.
And nobody's there. So
now I know why we're doing this.
I do love Texas. I'm up in Pennsylvania as we speak. But so what I want to do is, I don't know much about you. Matt seems to be my podcast booker at this point because I think I'm at 30 people with him right now. So I don't even have to work to find anybody anymore. I just have Matt do it. So tell me about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your background and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I'm a brain engineer for entrepreneurs.
You're a what's that?
Brain engineer.
Hold on. Okay. Listen, I've done 900 podcasts. I've been on a million myself. And when I hear things I've never heard before, so I'm a mindset coach. So it sounds like I am falling behind the 8 ball here. You're a brain engineer. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, technically it is a brain coach, but it's slightly different. So to make that help you understand a little bit different, I just use the term engineer. Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm jealous. So continue because I'm very excited right out the gate.
Okay. So essentially thinking is not one big thing. Thinking is made up of 28 thinking skills, also called cognitive functions. Now, naturally, we all have stronger ones and weaker ones, but those weaker ones are making it challenging for you to do what you want to do. So by improving those, all of a sudden you make a few little tweaks in your brain and everything becomes a lot easier.
I've never been more intrigued.
I love your expressions.
I've never been more intrigued in my entire life. I am so excited right now. I just want to quit the podcast and just talk to you for the next 3 hours because this is so exciting to me. So, I was homeless. I was a drug addict. I was a meth and cocaine addict and beat that and then went homeless and then was a functioning alcoholic for 20 years. Right. And I help people get sober all the time and do it in different settings. And what I realize is the addiction part of the thing, right, is not so much the problem as the identity associated with the addiction, right? And one of the things I was talking about with my podcast producer today was what you're hitting on is we say, this is my favorite ridiculous saying, well, that's just the way that my family did it. And this is in our genes and all this shit. And I'm like, that's just horseshit. You know, my favorite quote I ever heard was Les Brown, who's my favorite speaker, said, you know, all these people are telling me they're big boned, but I've never seen big boned skeletons. And I think that we get in thinking patterns, and I think thinking patterns and kind of loops of patterns of thinking is really what keeps people stuck. It's not that they don't want to change, it's that they refuse to step outside of the pattern.
Yeah.
And so how do you go about tweaking, and where do you start with people?
Yeah. So all of what you just said is more like the mindset of things, which is like super, super, super important. Mm-hmm. I approach it more from like a cognitive, like logical sense, like how your brain is actually thinking. Now, these are so hand in hand, like they each affect each other tons, but you can approach it either way. So essentially, thinking isn't one big thing, right? Thinking is made up of thinking skills. Now, the question is, which one of those thinking skills are causing you to think in that specific way? So some of it is going to be from that mindset, right? Like, so from the words you use, I'm sure you've heard of like Carol Dweck, right? Like in her growth mindset, right? So like in the words you use is going to affect your actions you're going to take, just like you said. But I like to think of it, sometimes it works like the other way too. Is it like a chicken or egg type of thing? If your brain struggles to do something, either because of genetics or because of the way you brought up or whatever, because of the way your brain is currently wired, then you are going to have beliefs about certain things. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have those beliefs, and it's only going to create those actions even more. I'll give you an example. Okay. I, for the longest time, said I could only do this work one-on-one with people. It's a very custom type of thing. Everyone has different cognitive functions that they need to improve. And like, you can only work one-on-one with people. And I honestly believe that like you can only work one-on-one with people. And even though I knew there were other people around this world who were using the same exact method in classrooms of 30, I was like, it doesn't make sense they're getting like really good results, because I've had experience with this, like getting sessions myself, and it just doesn't work. And I was just told like I have this limiting belief and just not possible. After I improved my thinking skill, my cognitive function called categorizations, being able to make things into groups, but also being able to see the big picture of things, automatically my brain now said like, hey, if I want to do this in groups, all I need to do is tweak this, this, and that. And now it's going to work just as well, if not better, in groups. But the reason why I had that limiting belief was because this thinking skill of categorizations was weak. And my brain literally didn't think big in anything, not just in this. It didn't think big in planning my week. I would plan my day, but I couldn't plan my week. And any activity I was doing, it wasn't thinking big. Does that make sense?
Yes. Have you written a book?
Have I written a book?
Yeah.
No, I haven't written a book.
I want to learn all about this, because my whole life, even when I was not good, I was the guy that everybody talked to. I'm a, empath. I have a clinical photographic memory, the whole nine, right? I dropped out of college 3 times. I'm not classically trained in anything. I've done coaching certifications for word and language, and that's like amazing, and story work. But what you're talking about takes it to a whole another level, because where I haven't, and I'll be 100% frank, where I haven't connected with people is people that have analytical brains. Me and them don't jive, because I'm kind of I've done 800 podcasts. I've never written anything down. I just ask questions. I just let feel do. I've never connected with engineers. It's not my jam. My grandfathers were both engineers, but we'd never hit it off, right? Like engineering coaching clients, I've always been with guys that are passion driven like me, but I've started refining through books and learning, more and more and more. This to me feels like, and maybe I'm wrong, it feels like an unemotional approach to fixing yourself and getting better without all the chaos of sometimes the emotions, and looking at it more from a lens of understanding this is just, you're building skills and you're tweaking, opposed to the pure anarchy that's take place in my life, which is, dynamite and, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a good way of saying it. It's actually, Piaget said like emotions and cognition are two sides of the same coin. So as you improve one of them, the other one goes up. So like literally, like you can approach it right from that emotional side, like from more that heartfelt side, and dealing with the trauma or whatever, just dealing with the emotional side of it. Or you could approach it more from like a logical side and how your brain's actually thinking.
So when you told that story about the classroom, can you talk to me about when you did that first, larger group and it clicked and it worked? Did you, when you walked away from it, did you know it clicked? Like you knew, like you hit it?
Yeah. So I'm just going to clarify. I personally never did in classroom because I was working with adults.
Okay.
And so I like now I work with groups. But I know that I'm trained in the Feuerstein method. That's the specific method that I use. And they have it like done around the world in classrooms, not so much in America, unfortunately, but it is done. But I never started groups until I improved this thinking skill. So by the time I got into doing the groups, right, because then I had to create the groups and I had to like do all the business side of doing it in groups, I was already super confident because I already saw in so many other areas of my life. I like literally adjusted the way I was planning my week, and I saved over 10 hours by just rearranging things and working in a smarter way. Because now instead of just looking at my day and what I have to do today, I'm looking at the week and what I have to do this week, and I'm doing things in a different order. And I saved 10 hours.
Give me an as is. This is very intriguing. Give me an as is, because I would say it's number one thing that people have a problem with is, planning their week or just, being at the whims of everything that happens.
Right.
So like when you refine the 10 hours, like what do you have a tangible tactical thing of how to change your week?
Yeah. So here's where it's like, as soon as you improve that thinking skill, your brain finds out ways for you to do it by yourself. But I could give you like tips and hacks, which if this thinking skill is strong for you, you'll have no problem doing it. If it's weak for you, it's not going to help anyways. But anyways, this is the way I do it. I like group all my tasks together based on the same type of task. So today we are recording this on a Monday. Monday is my recording day. I do podcast guesting. I have people coming on my things. I do anything with Zoom. I do my sessions. I do everything on Mondays and Thursdays. That way I'm literally going from thing to thing to thing just on Zoom. I don't have to I have to go out and do things. And then I have one day a week where I'm working on more like admin and like all those like sitting down, right? Like every type of task that I want to do gets grouped together. I host a podcast, gets recorded in 3 weeks for the next 5 months, right? So that way your brain doesn't have to refire up and like restart up every single time. And your brain creates a systems like to be able to do it in a more efficient way.
So somehow I stumbled upon the same thing. And when I started doing this, it changed my entire life. And I'll coach 15 people on Mondays and totally be fine. And people are like, I have no idea how you do that. I'm like, well, it's the same thing every day. I mean, it's the same thing that whole day. And like Thursday and Friday are kind of like my catch up day where like I hang out, check with investors, don't really have anything on the books ever. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are my harder days because I go really hard and I work really hard, but I realize that I can't just get to Friday and be like done, because then I won't recover. And then I'm like back into Mondays. And so I kind of like slowly like ease off the week so I can go into the weekend a little easier. And then Monday's like oh my God, like today is like, 7 to 6 all straight through,
Yeah.
But I'm
curious, right. Like, let's just say like where this cognitive function shows up in like other areas, like organization. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that something that you struggle with? Is that something like you have
1,000%? I've gotten better with it over the years, and I do like things, but it's never been my thing. I surround myself with people that are obsessed with OCD and organization because it's not my thing. Like, like there's a lot of people ask me the same question. How do you juggle so much? And I'm like, I just can't. I don't know how to tell you. Like my fiance cracked me up. She's like, dude, in one day, you're talking about real estate, crypto, HVAC, you're talking about divorce, addiction. And I'm like, it's just my mind floats. But what I did that changed my life was I stopped apologizing to myself for things that I needed to be happy. And what I mean, and let me break that down. There are things that I do in my life that efficiency wise don't make sense and probably don't make me money, but they keep me happy and grateful. And so I stopped having excuses for those and just did them. And the overall aggregate of my life has been a lot better.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Cause like we do.
Oh
like,
man, you can't do that.
this.
You got to get up in the morning and you got to do this. And don't get me wrong, I do get up every morning, but I've been less hard on myself to know that there's different seasons and respect the seasons of busy, fast. That to me has changed my life, along with just telling my friends to fuck off, because they say the same thing to me all the time. Slow down, go fuck yourself. Like, you know, I got big plans and we're going. And so I stopped apologizing for my life and all the things I'm creating because my dreams are big. So that on the back of just organizing my life the right way, right? The biggest thing that I have is my body can be somewhere, but my mind's always somewhere else. And so that's my next Mount Everest, right? Because we have 50 employees and I have this business and this business. And so you're still every day where I'm going to, and in my previous podcast, I was talking about this, my identity for myself was so wrapped up into hard work, because that's how I got to where I was from 17 to 40. And now I'm paid for my decisions and my quick management and quick decisions. And I'm not there to say that that's pure work to me. And my brain doesn't associate with that's a great week. Like we just negotiated the biggest deal in the company's history and we lost it. And then I brought it back in like 5 years.
Congratulations.
No. Yeah, I didn't sleep last week. But I got it back and I made the deal happen. But that is millions and millions of dollars. But to me, it was like, oh, that's just what I do. It's people. But like my brain doesn't associate it with the, hey, that's a big deal. You know, like you should go work 60 hours a week. You know, that matters more, right? So we're like kind of in this like life transition where I'm moving into my 40s, and it's more of like, you know, you've done the work. Now it's because you can make snap decisions and quick decisions.
Your skill set or your like ability is like higher, right?
Correct. Well, when I started startups on my own, we're buying existing businesses now, 15, 20 years in business. Startups require quick action, passion, fuel, visionary, all that stuff. Cash flowing business takes consistency of behavior, calmness, showing up every day, being a leader. Those are two totally different people.
Yeah.
You know, so that's been the biggest decision. That's been the biggest switch for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And through all of them, I'm sure like the cognitive functions that you were stronger at, like still showed up like in your life, right? Like, so let's say making decisions requires to use the cognitive functions of like comparisons. Mm-hmm. So if you make quick, good decisions, that is probably a thinking skill that is really strong by you.
Correct. And so like, there's things that I can do that I know is very hard for other people. Okay. And what I call it, you know, those military people that jump from the plane so high that they have to put on an oxygen mask. Yeah. I call it halo networking. So if you want to drop me in a room of 1,000 people and I can tell you what their dog and cat's names are and where they live and what they do for a living, I can do that in 2 seconds. If you drop my same business partner in that room, he'd be in the corner in a fetal position.
Yeah.
But he loves what he does. And so not making excuses and then, you know, putting like I have 3 main skills. Okay. 1, I can connect with anybody in 2.5 seconds. That's my number 1 skill.
2.5 seconds. What made you pick that number?
I don't know. But and then my second thing is I can see somebody and what their talents and what they truly are meant to be, even though they might not be that person now. And I can put them in a position to rise up to that person. Okay. And then my next one is just I have a clinical photographic memory. So like, those are my things. And like, I try to do all those other things, which is spreadsheets and, you know, Google Sheets. And yeah, that makes me want to ram my head through a window. But not making apologies for not wanting to do it is okay too.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you bring in the right people. You bring in the right people to do it. I will just add to that, like, besides, like, I'm all like into like you do what you do best, right? Like you never change that for any reason. Sometimes though, depends on a person's situation. And I find this specifically like the stage of the life that they're at. Sometimes like you could just get through it without it. But if you could not become like force yourself to do work that you're not good at, but understand it a little bit better, then you can communicate with those people better.
Gosh, you're so right. It's, one of the things, and this has just happened, I would say in the last 6 months, that has changed my life. And I don't know where it came from. Maybe you can have a view on this. I have learned this skill, and maybe it took 40 years. I don't know. And it's the weirdest thing. And I'm not trying to get woo-woo on you, but when a moment happens or a situation, I can sit in that moment and stand on top of the situation and look at everybody. Let's say there's 3 people. I can look at everybody's position and lens of that situation and assess it from a group instead of pure my ego from the beginning. Meaning like, that doesn't make any sense. Do it this way. But now I could sit in that situation and say, well, I could see how he could think that. And I could see how this person could see that. And that to me has changed my entire life, is being able to see it from all angles instead of not jump to quick judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, obviously on a basic level, like communication improves and relationships improve, but like how you afterwards like move around a business and the deals that you do and the things that you do like change completely from it.
So what did you do before this, or have you always done brain engineering?
So I always known about this. I've got it as a kid in 5th grade when I really couldn't read. But so I knew I wanted to learn it from a young age, but I didn't know like I was actually going to do this. I did before this photography, actually, lifestyle photography before it was a thing, like not the studio or the typical portrait type of things, like going into people's houses as they're like living their lives. But as I was doing this, I was doing my training in this, and like as I was doing this, I was like doing it more for people as like favors, people who need, like I obviously got paid for it and things, but like I was doing it not so much like for the business. But between seeing how much like what an impact this has on people, and between me getting this like massive aha that like categorization changed my whole life, even though I was an adult and even though I was like already like even though like life was going good for me and like improved my life even more, was I knew that people needed this. Like people need it.
So I can tell that you are, very thoughtful and you're very strategic in your thinking. I mean, obviously that's what you do for a living. What do you do for fun outside of your passion? What lights you up that's not engineering human brains?
Yeah. So I love traveling. Like,
okay.
One of my favorite.
What's your favorite place you've been to?
My favorite place, probably would be Norway.
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun. I do love like outdoors, so like running and swimming, biking, things like that. And I love like having outside of work, like having one-on-one conversations with people and then just going like deep on specific topics. So like getting like past the surface of like, hey, like what did you do last weekend? But like actually like going deep, that like I find super energizing actually.
I love that. I can't stand to talk about the weather. It's just not needed, right? I mean, we know it. I'm gonna let you in on a secret. It's hot in Texas and it fucking rains in Florida. Wow, welcome.
Right? Like
I just, and I was just talking to my fiance about this the other day. I think a lot of people's responses are standard responses because they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like they say all the time, like somebody said to me the other day, like I was mowing the grass on like Sunday and they're like, oh, working on a Sunday, that's rough. And I'm like, I love mowing the grass. So no, it's not working. Right. But like, that's just what they don't know to say. Right. And so like one of my things is like going deep with people is like so much fun. And like what I do, good or bad or indifferent, is I love to dip my toe in the water and see where I find the spot that's a little dangerous.
Right.
And then that's where I continue to just like, right. Because like one of my theories just my theory in life is like, especially like people that have a bigger presence on podcast, like that are on like people that people see, like they've been on a million podcasts and like they say the same story over and over again. But what I do is I play around and ask different questions to find the spot that maybe hits them in a certain direction, but also allows them to think about something different than that thing, right? Because we condition ourselves to say the same thing and all that stuff like that. And
Yeah.
like if I'm just talking about myself, and what I mean by that is like to get sober, to get divorced, to leave your W-2, like there was a lot of anger and aggression. And I'm having to make peace with being happy. Like I'm like, my fiance loves me so much and life's going good. Like it scares the fucking shit out of me.
Yeah,
Like most of my life,
book, The Big Leap.
I've read parts. I don't think I've finished it.
But the idea of like, right, like we're scared of like what, of the good, of like what's better than what we're used to.
Yeah. And then like what I realized is coaching enough people is that they're not actually scared of failure. They're actually scared of sustaining success.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what a ridiculous concept that we have created in our own minds to say like, well, if I'm successful, like I got to follow it up again. And it's like, yeah. And so, but the thing is there's so much joy in exploration of oneself. I find it to be just amazing. Right. And when I got divorced, I traveled around in my car for like 8 months recording the podcast and working for my laptop. And people were like, who the hell are you traveling with? And I said, dude, I am traveling with this badass motherfucker. I haven't seen him in years. And his name is Austin Linney.
I love that. I love it. Yeah. It's like, it's just getting to know yourself and like developing that self-awareness and like the parts of you that you like didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I find for adults, especially, is whatever you craved as a child, do more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that part of you is still there.
It unearths, but now we got to get back to what really only matters. So you want a big ranch? Is that what you said?
I do. I love horses. That's another thing. I love horses. So I want, like a horse ranch. I don't especially want to be the one to have to deal with them. So yeah, I want to have like ride them when I want to, but other than that, like have people take care of them. So there's like a lot more money that needs to come first, but yeah, it's a goal and I know it will happen.
Yeah. So our same goal is to have a healing ranch where we do chronic pain, addiction, other things, but we're also going to have cabins in the back on a different piece of property that are always available and clean. So if you're going through divorce or you're changing jobs or you're writing a book and you just need a place to stay for a life transition, it's going to be there.
Oh, wow. I like that. I'm curious about like this healing thing, because that was something like a point I was deciding if to do. But obviously you say that.
You and me and my business partner wants horses too. So I think y'all get along real well.
But like what sort of activities or like what sort of therapies or like what were you thinking?
So it's very interesting, right? Therapy on a whole gets a very bad rap. You know, for me, I've never shared this before, but for me, I went to a lot of therapy as a kid. Could never really get my ADHD medicine right, but I was smarter than most of the therapists. And so I went through like 15 of them. And I think why I went through 15 of them is because I was sitting in a room with air conditioning. And I think when you do things, right? And I found this in addiction, especially when you do things, hiking, working on horses, swimming, and they're far less concerned about not sharing something and stuff comes out. And so I think once you get them in nature or they're cooking or they're, walking the horses or they're just out and it just creates a different dynamic where the environment breeds healing. And that's kind of the way we would look at it, cook our own food. People would be able to host retreats. Through the podcast, I've met a lot of crazy people that do a lot of wild stuff that I never thought you're just one happen a day. You're brain engineering, which sounds so cool and kind of like Elon Musk's. A Neuralink whole that thing. But I have a friend who's a marijuana integration coach. Who knew? I didn't know, and like, I just find it cool, right? Because I think every day you can wake up and I think you can have it all figured out. And I think you can have a conversation that changes your life. And
Yeah.
I've had about 5 of those in my life that has set me on a different path, but I don't look at it in that context. I look at it in the context of, and the same thing I told my client earlier this morning. I don't want to affect the one anymore. The one is easy. I can do that every day. I want to affect the one that affects the one. And you do that by getting people together from different walks of life. And I think that's what the land is going to be.
Yeah, I love that. I love it so much. I also think, like, going back to like what you said about the therapies, like, and that different things come out. I think that something that gets overlooked is also in the process of doing those therapies is when a lot of like healing can happen also, right? Like horse therapy is like a very, like a common, right? Like the simple act of like learning to ride horses and dealing them and things like that can be super, super healing for some people.
1000%. So if people want to find out about you, they want to follow you, how would they do that?
Yeah, I'm Life Pix University wherever you go. So that's Life PIX University on TikTok, on my website, Instagram, wherever you go.
She's TikTok famous, guys. I don't even know, but she's TikTok famous. What?
No, not, but it is my favorite platform. So you'll probably find me there first.
Well, I tell you what, every day I wake up and I know I'm going to meet somebody new and learn something new. And today was one of those days. I'm super excited to dig in more to your work for myself. And I hope everybody does as well, too. So if you got some value from this, send it to a friend and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Austin.
You're welcome.